Hey, how's it going, everybody? Another day of Rocket League news, and we've got some interesting ones. We were wondering on when the roster change kind of craziness was going to happen, and one of the teams that's been kind of declining lately has actually already started. Also, for the first time ever, we've got a director of esports over at Psyonix / Epic Games with a focus, obviously, on Rocket League, and we've got the Rocket League Academy starting up. All that and more in today's video. What's up, everybody? Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. Before we get into the video, as always, you guys know what to do. Thumbs up, subscribe, all the stuff you need to know in the description, notifications, blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes. The big thing for today is there's kind of three major pieces. The first one's going to be about the Giants squad. Second one is going to be about the director of Rocket League Esports. We haven't had a director ever in the esports section, so curious on how that'll play out. And then the third one is actually going to be about the Rocket League Academy, which is a new video series that Rocket League is putting on with Sunless Khan. So first one's going to be a tweet that came out from Thamway that was early yesterday morning and says, and this is with a translation, after a long and hard season with my colleagues Itachi and Stake, our tour comes to an end. I want to thank Giants Gaming for the opportunity and the treatment they have offered me, and also to my colleagues for the trust and the time shared. With that being said, I want to announce that I will be LFT for the next season. If you're interested, feel free to DM me. Basically, it is Thamway that is going to be leaving the Giants roster. For those that do not know the Giants roster with Itachi Stake, Itachi came in and replaced Tox and looked pretty good. At one point, they were like a top 2, top 3 team in the region, like even fighting over Vitality at times. And whatever the reasoning in winter and then definitely in the spring split, they have been on a significant downward spiral. Their results so poor, in fact, that after being in top 5 spots, are nowhere near the capabilities of being in the major, now the, I guess, not LAN or the RLCSX championships, the $400,000 tournament that's in replacement of Worlds. They've been on a downward spiral for quite a while, and was probably the one team that I was pretty solidified on that would be making a change. What they're going to do for a replacement, who they're going to go with, what all that means, I don't think any of us know. I think it's way too soon to tell. To provide some insight on how this usually works is a lot of the time what will end up happening is some of the top teams will basically change up their roster. A lot of the other teams will sit and kind of wait to see what availability is. And then after one of the top teams does make that change, it's a domino effect. Everybody makes crazy changes. They go on what's available, and then it all goes from there. Some of these roster changes do start pretty early and are through development. Even a team like version 1 last season, after they were no longer Cloud9 and Squishy left, went through like 5 different iterations of their roster through different tournaments during the offseason to figure out which one they were going to go with before the season happens. And that's pretty much as a heads up what this offseason is going to be. After the regional championships finish up this weekend with North America for the Lamborghini Open, we then have the RLCSX championships, which will happen in June. And then from there, there's nothing for July, August, September, most likely. And then maybe late September, mid-September, we'll get RLCS 11. I assume there will be community events in that time, but you're talking roughly 4 or 5 months of nothing for some of these teams, primarily the teams that have already been knocked out. EU in particular just doesn't have much. Like if you're a team like Dignitas that didn't make top 6, like you've been done for a week plus already and have to wait all the way until September. So there is a lot of downtime for some of these teams, and they're going to be trying out multiple different iterations. Giants is no different than that, and is actually kind of the first major roster to be making that change. So it will be interesting to see how things play out. Obviously, there is some pretty good free agents available, but again, you don't want to make that decision too early and kind of pigeonhole yourself. So this will be the first development of the roster chaos that is bound to happen during this offseason, because teams and players, I think, understand now it's a 9-10 month season plus, and I've got to play with these same players for essentially that amount of time. And if we do make a change, we can only make one because of the roster rule and the trade windows. So it's got to be a long thought out process. It should be interesting to see, though, what happens. I'll try to keep you guys up to date on all the crazy roster stuff. Second big news is going to come from Clifford Schumacher. If you guys don't know Clifford Schumacher, he is a former veteran of the ESPN team, and after 15 and a half years with ESPN, he is joining Psyonix / Epic Games as the director of esports focused on Rocket League Esports. On April 9th, he put out a tweet saying, "Incredibly emotional day, as today marks my last day at ESPN after 15 and a half years. What an amazing list of invaluable experiences and relationships I've built within the intersection of sports and games. taking times to reflect, but way too excited to start the new adventure. The next message he ends up putting out says, thanks for all the outstanding support. Beyond thrilled to announce starting Monday, I will join Psyonix Epic Games as the director of Rocket League Esports. From inception, I waved the antenna flag of RL and honored to join the insanely talented team. Now, to provide some insight about his experience at ESPN, he started in September of 2005 as a content editor. That is what he did. He edited content. So hopefully we get some more content out of Rocket League. He then went and became a lead editor, and then in a coordinating editor. So obviously having a little bit of a team underneath him as he kind of moved up in the ladder. Then he went to manager of interactive games and partnerships. So building relationships with others. I think that might become more and more important, especially with the additions of like Verizon sponsorships, Lamborghini, F1, NASCAR, and everything else that's being brought in by Epic Games. And hopefully he can use some of those experiences from times at ESPN to help foster those relationships and bring those over, obviously, to the benefit of Rocket League. From there, he went to the senior manager of interactive games and partnerships. So after being in that position for 2 years and 8 months, he then became the senior manager, oversaw even more people. And last but not least, for the last 3 years and 8 months, he has been the senior manager of digital programming and acquisitions. To explain that in layman's terms, you have to think about it in, I guess, 2 different ways. Obviously, you have the program that you watch, the TV show. In this case, I'm going to use RLCSX as an example. So RLCSX as a program needs to acquire certain things so they can pay their bills. In this case, primarily sponsorships. If you watch this, you can see the sponsorships, obviously, with Lamborghini currently during the NA Open. You also have Verizon partnering certain things, the Verizon Skybox. You also have stuff along the lines of when they do chat predictions. It is the chat predictions presented by Verizon. Stuff like that is referred to as a CTA in the broadcasting world, also known as a call to action, which is basically just making sure you hit the check marks of like, hey man, these are the guys that are sponsoring our stuff. Make sure you go down this list. Make sure you hashtag sell out about the things that you need to do so you can continue to go to the meat and potatoes of the broadcast, which is the actual gameplay. So hopefully that will help foster those relationships and help continue to allow Rocket League and Rocket League Esports as a whole have more and more partnerships and sponsorships, because they have been lacking pretty lately. Obviously, with the pandemic and everything else that kind of came along with it, it's been a little bit weird. But in the past, I mean, you want to talk about like Nissan Cup Noodles. In Amsterdam, we had like Transformers as one of our partners. You can also talk about Brisk and Taking the Risk, which was really popular, and many other things. So hopefully it helps continue to build that growth, because those things are kind of what makes everything run smoothly, because it provides a lot of funding and it's stuff that they don't have to do out of pocket. And by they, I mean Psyonix. So even though, you know, Epic is projected to be worth like $27 billion and money isn't really an issue, it's still kind of nice as a business not having to dig into your own pockets. So that is Clifford Schumacher's experience. I've got some context over at ESPN, neither here nor there. Not going to kind of get into any of the specifics of what I've been told about the guy, but ultimately it's a new position, a lot of experience with ESPN, some different perspectives that he can possibly bring, and hopefully it means better and better things for Rocket League Esports. Last and certainly not least on the list is going to be the Rocket League Academy. For those that don't know, I talked about this actually quite a while ago. Sunless Khan is doing instructional videos for Rocket League called Rocket League Academy. The first episode, called Training and Mentality, is now out. They did a little bit of a teaser on it 2 days ago, and then yesterday they ended up putting out the first episode, and it's basically Rocket League 101. It goes over kind of some very elementary stuff, but also in a fun, kind of unique Sunless Khan video way. There is some more advanced things that are going to be coming. They do talk about how there's supposed to be like special guests and guest teachers, or whatever the heck they called them, that will be stopping on and doing collaborations in some of these videos. But for those that are just kind of looking to better educate themselves about the Rocket League scene as a player, it's kind of a fun way and a good idea actually from Psyonix to have an official Rocket League branded tutorial, because obviously tutorial videos pop off on YouTube, but having their own that is specifically made by the developer, I think, is really important. It took years for League of Legends to do stuff like this. There's still one of the greatest videos I've ever seen about explaining how League of Legends works didn't come out until like 3 or 4 years after the esports. So again, those videos are usually community made, and then eventually the developer wises up and is like, oh shoot, we should probably do that too. This feels like that. So cool branding. Rocket League Academy. Sunless Khan, obviously one of the best content creators we have in Rocket League, doing a collaboration on it, and who knows what their special guests will be in the future. So Pretty cool. Recommend checking that out. Links in the description down below. That is going to wrap it up for this video. Don't forget, tomorrow we do have our mailbox, so we'll be answering your guys' questions from the comments down below. If you guys would like to leave some of those and have a chance of getting those answered, you can either leave them at the bottom of this video or make sure you go back to last Sunday's video and leave them in there as well. But that is going to do it for me, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.